Resolution 2014-202, second Monday, October 27th, 2014, at 6:30 p.m. as the date and time of the City Council to take public testimony for consideration of the 2015 revenue sources and proposed ad valorem tax levy and presentation of preliminary budget.
You don't have any sound.
Oh.
Yeah, we go. I hear it. I'll turn it very low.
Not much.
I'll see.
Oh, no, that's a little too loud. I think we're good. There we go. Okay. So, Resolution 2014-202, setting Monday, October 27th, 6:30 p.m. as the date and time for City Council to take public testimony for consideration of 2015 revenue sources and proposed ad valorem tax levies and presentation of the preliminary 2015 budget.
Okay. We've been here before. The keys. So I have the preliminary budget. Actually, I'll call the proposed preliminary budget, and I'll pass it out while I explain the resolution. I think one of the things. Yeah. And I also have that's been emailed to you in case you want to have it on your surface tablets, which all of them will be back to everybody by this week. So there's keys to estimating our future revenues. Conservatism, because we don't really know. We have a pattern from prior years, which I'll get into, but we want to be conservative and go not much higher than what we already received in the prior 2 years. Prior year trends I was just talking about, so we look, now we have a good record of 13 and 14. We can project off of that for 15. Last year it was really scrambling to find numbers. This year I feel confident in what I've seen over the last 2 years. And so I feel good about what I put in this proposed budget. Economic indicators, which still are trending up. I mean, unemployment has gotten lower, and there are some good signs. So we're going to go with that's going to continue. And then staff intergovernmental source data, such as liability insurance. We contacted AWCR MSA, and they gave us a number that said it's going to go up 3%, but we don't know what your total rate is going to be, because there's two indicators. One is they actually bump everybody's up as they vote on it, which they did this year for 3%. And then it's individually, how have you done in the prior year? How has your city been? And they have another indicator which they multiply by that, and it's last year was a certain number, and this year we're hopeful to be a lower number. So we might see an offset, but right now I have it at 3% increase in the budget. We also have, for payroll, which takes the most intensive work, is coming up with projections based on negotiations with the union. So we have a factor in there for police, which will change as we get closer to the end of the negotiations. And then I have to project for 2015, middle of the year, we have the union, the Public Works Clerical Union is going to be, their contract expires June 30th. I'm hopeful. I've talked to our contact with them, the negotiator, and we're going to meet in February and get that going so that we have it done. But the point is, I don't know what it's going to be at, but I'm going to come up with a number that the council can agree with me on. Right now, it's a low number. We'll go from there and see what it is. On the expenditure side, I try to budget a little higher, but I actually go through meetings with each department director or manager and get their input on what the numbers look like, and then I go over it and balance the budget, which means, okay, we're going to have to shave a little bit off of these professional services because we want to balance the general fund. My main goal is to balance the general fund. The other funds, the utility funds, they are self-sufficient. And when they're not, that's when you have a rate hike, which you have with sewer, as we saw this past year. So really, it comes down to the general fund. And what I did, actually I should bring my copy over here too. So what I did with this budget is, and I've done this year, I rolled all those little funds in. It's in my description here. The little funds being 303, 04, and these are the community service funds, 05 and 06, which are parks. I rolled them in the general funds as departments because that's what they really are. They're not codified. So, and I also rolled in the criminal justice fund because it was split up and it was really a mess. So I put it all back in the general fund and as well as the criminal forfeiture fund. So now they're all in the general fund. You won't see them separated out. And those funds have all their fund balances all have become one. And you'll see it broken out. I did break it out here for 14, so you would see that. But in 15, that's going to go away, and all it's going to be is one fund balance, the general fund. So, and we do have the ability to run separate reports for each one of those departments so that you can see the revenues that are brought in by them and then the corresponding expenses so that you can see, well, I want to know how we're doing in community services. Are we really, because now we won't have those transfers, which really were not appropriate. So I've been talking to the auditors. The auditors make us roll it up every year anyway for the audit and get rid of the transfers. So now we're going to actually have it done properly every month, every quarter. So you'll see that come to you in a budget amendment. But right now we're acting as if they're all in the general fund. And I wanted to balance the general fund. That was my main goal. I went home this weekend and I wasn't balanced, but worked from this weekend, worked today, and it's balanced, but it's a tight budget. And so that's what we have to talk about in our budget workshop on the 22nd. I think that's when it is. And talk about alternative forms of sources of revenue, because we're going to have that public hearing on that too on the 27th. Is that right? 27th, right. So we're going to have and we're going to discuss, does the council want to do certain things to increase revenues? What are those options? And I'll present those to you at that time. Right now, we talked about it last year. We talked about, for the street fund, since I pulled some of the transfers out of the general fund, which is streets and parks. Oh, by the way, we did create a 305, which is a capital parks fund, because when they first started collecting taxes for parks, they were supposed to set up it says a separate checking account. They meant a separate fund. So we need to amend that ordinance, and I'm working with Carol Morris on that, and to call it a fund. So now we have a 305 fund, which will be codified by you in a few weeks, and it's going to be all the fees that go to parks, impact fees, all the taxes do not go to maintenance. They go directly to that fund. They sit in there for purchase of land, for purchase of equipment, but they're not used for maintenance. And I'm still working on getting the beginning balance. We're really close. I think maybe we might be $25,000, $30,000 off, and we may need to transfer that from the general fund to the parks fund so that it's all up to date and we're all cool with King County, because they're the ones that are going to audit it someday. So we've worked on getting that cleaned up. Let's see. So we'll be talking mostly about the general fund revenues, which include your biggest ones: property taxes, sales taxes, franchise fees, utility taxes, those kind of things. And you have a lot of options there. What I would ask for you to do over the next couple of weeks is to put together questions on some of these that you have, and you can shoot me an email, and then I can come up with answers for you and be prepared in the meeting so we can discuss where your questions are. The RCW states that you have to have this before you by department. That's why you have it like that. We do it at fund level, and I didn't want to overwhelm you with all the line items. I just did that from there. So we're going to go over those with staff, because we're going to look at, okay, how realistic is this budget that we've put together now? The general fund is tighter, but that's because the city for quite a few years probably hasn't balanced the general fund. Because it was split up among other funds, it was bringing down the balance, but nobody noticed. Now I notice, and I'm saying, okay, I want to make sure we have a healthy balance so that we can put some of it in reserves and build up our reserve balance, which is down to like $134,000. Mayor and I talked about building that back up. And so we have a couple of funds that are closing. There are three of them, the 200 funds, 206, 207, 208. The 206 and 207 are the LID 3 funds. They're closed. By state RCW, we have to transfer that money into the general fund. And I'll show you the RCW, and we'll go over that at the meeting. The 208 fund is that fire truck fund, and that's supposed to be closed and put into the general fund. And so that's an increase, the balance, obviously. And we're going to talk about the City Hall project and that, and we're going to bring that in too, because I haven't put that in the budget. That's really up to the mayor and you to talk about how we're going to do that going forward. That discussion will start on the 20th. We're really hopeful to have it done then. Lance is doing a really good job of putting everything together for that. So when we hear from the citizens, hopefully, and the public, hopefully we'll hear what they want, what is important to them as far as not wanting taxes increased or not wanting this or what they do want. That's going to be important. But this first hearing is only about the revenues, not about the expenditures. That'll come later. We have 2 more hearings to have that. Although I know all of us will be talking about that on the 22nd. So, and that's where a lot of focus is. But balancing the general fund, and it's going to be a challenge because of the police negotiations, because of costs going up, and we're doing what we can. And I'm also going to show you what our payroll looks like citywide and then by department over the last 3 years, because I think you'll want to see that, especially now that we're getting fully staffed. And so that's definitely a goal, to keep it manageable for the future. I know how important that is, we've talked about that, so, any questions anybody can think of right now?
Just a couple clarifications on the reporting format.
Yeah.
The 2014 actual is year-to-date through
September 30th.
September?
And that isn't, I did put that in the narrative, but it's a good question.
Just noticing that everything's down from last year, and I didn't figure we'd actually gone down.
No, right.
And the average appropriated would be including your proposed 2015, and then the average
Yes.
actual currently is averaging in zeros for the 2015.
Right. So, and I would pretty much ignore the average appropriate, I can't get rid of that, or I would've. I'm talking with Bias about writing a report, it's like, I don't really need that number, and I'm sure they're gonna get a little hung up on it. That's why I include the report in the back,
Yeah.
which just shows 2015.
Okay.
But by law, I have to show, they already said I have to show you 13, 14, and 15, it has to be a 3-year window, which this is really nice, it shows it's
Oh, yeah,
really well done.
compared to our previous
Oh,
report, this is great.
it's much better than
Just get
Excel.
used to it.
Yeah, and also where it says appropriated, that doesn't mean appropriated, that means proposed. Appropriated is when you pass it, and I'll get that changed too. I'm working on it with Bias, but I like the way it works. It's instantaneous, as soon as we get the numbers, we put them in, runs the report. Some of them I can do in Excel where I could email those to you and you can look at them, but most of them are in PDF, so, but yeah, we'll go through it and, you know, if anything strikes you that you have questions about and you don't understand why it's so high or whatever, look at that. I've really gone in with a soft look at investment and interest income because we're gonna see the big bump from that at the end of this year. We have two bonds that are going to pay out in December. And then I'll get a good idea, and I have a number of others that I'm going to bring to the council to share with that, what we're gonna purchase those for future years. We have a ladder that's built for a 4-year period. Haven't done that yet because I wanna make sure of our cash flow, and I'm really there. I understand it better now, especially with the big projects on the roads, you know, on Valentine and Stewart, needing the funds for those big payments when they come in, but we're not gonna have too many more this year. So we're gonna put a lot of money away for 3 or 4 years to get some more interest. That'll help quite a bit.
And then on the combined reporting on putting everything back together for law enforcement, that's pro forma back together for 13 and 14, as well as your proposed 15, so they're comparable?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it actually worked great. I was concerned about 13. We didn't separate out for 13 and put it back in just like one, so it's pretty well. You'll see some line items that are off because we've had a lot of incorrect bars codes.
But it's like department level,
But department level, you won't see it, so we see it at the bars level though. So, and if you do notice something like that, it might be because we did change departments on a few, but not very many. And like I say, I think it's a bit overwhelming unless you work with it every day like I do. And so, you know, feel free to just shoot me emails and I will get all the questions answered or reports prepared as you need them. I haven't run any graphs or anything yet. I'll try and have some of those done, like what would the percentage look like of revenue of the general fund for all the main expenses. Those are something I know council members are interested in, so we're going to try and have that for you as well.
Okay, I'd like to see the salary spreadsheet and showing which fund is,
The percentages, right?
which fund is covering what percentage.
Sure.
Like, what percentage of your payroll is being covered by utilities.
Sure.
And whatever, but I'd like to broke down to what utility also.
I have it.
Would be.
I already have it.
All right,
I worked on that this weekend.
okay.
So yeah, I'll put that in the back, that'll be part of it too. That's a good question too, because it's really difficult when we're talking about staff and where they spend their time, because we're constantly, especially in the finance department, we're constantly moving between funds. So it's a real, it's somewhat of a guessing game, but you also think about, okay, do you have any major projects that, and we don't pay any payroll out of the capital improvement fund. So, but you think about, we have proposed for next year a meter replacement project. That'll take a lot of my time managing the funds that are coming in, that are going out. So I did put more into that for next year than I did this year, because I realized that I'm going to put a lot more time into utilities than I have recently, because I've been just trying to get everything caught up and right. Some of the staff, utilities person, Angelica, she gets paid a lot out of utilities, that's where she spent all of her time. But then some get none out of there, like the payroll and, you know, or very little. So, but we have good ways of looking at the field crew, because they actually, we made a spreadsheet for their timesheet, so that actually breaks it down, and they have to keep track of where they're working, whether it be sewer, water, stormwater, and that's pretty, turned out pretty well. We're managing it so we can adjust to those numbers appropriately. It's something the auditors also assist with as well.
council discussion on this? Council pleasure? Move forward. All right.
Thank you.
Then next on the agenda is time change for next week's meeting.
So, as many of you know, next Monday is a holiday, so our meeting will be on Tuesday. And the Valley Regional Fire Authority Board of Governors meeting meets the second Tuesday of every month. Our meeting starts at 5:45, and generally lasts about half an hour to about 6:15. So I'm requesting that we move our council meeting to 6:45 to give the two council members and the mayor an opportunity to get back here to City Hall in a manner which is safe and to get to the meeting on time. And so because of the change of the day, I don't think that's going to happen too many times, but the one time I thought I'd make an announcement to start our regular scheduled meeting 15 minutes late so that we can get it posted so that we can make it back from the Board of Governors meeting on time. So it's more than an announcement.
Any other discussion?
Do you have to advertise that somehow?
It will be posted.
Gotta be posted.
I'm good with it. I don't wanna race any
Yeah.
cars as fast as they have.
We could have licensed siren waiting for you guys.
We're behind you all the way.
Your choice.
And I've also alerted the Valley Regional Fire Authority executive that we will need to try to get there by 6:15 so that we can get back. And they're doing a pretty good job of that because it's normally Algona's meeting night too, and their meeting starts at 6:30. So and the mayor and the two council members have to get back to Third City as well. So it's been working out fairly well, but I just reminded them.
Last one's a little long.
Yeah.
Budget season.
Yeah. Anyway, so that way I thought it just gives us a little flexibility, so otherwise the meeting will probably start late anyway, so we'll just plan on starting late. Okay. Thank you.
Any other items?
Well, make a comment, just, if anybody hasn't noticed, the roads have some really nice lines, and personally, I appreciate it. You know, it's one of the things I brought up, that with winter coming, and poorly marked roads, so it's really nice to see some of the major thoroughfares, marked up. And I've let Richard know that First Avenue between Pacific Avenue and Skinnerdoe has got some serious curvature going on that main, the marking, is one of these things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's gonna go take a look at it. But other than that, I thought it was really nice to see winter coming with the dark and the rain, it'd be nice, especially the main thoroughfare. It's really nice to have those marked out.
So did you pass that information on to Lance, or you just told Richard?
I just told Richard.
I'll talk to Lance some more about it.
Thank you.
One last item, just a reminder, tomorrow from 6 to 7:30 p.m., there will be training here for Park Board, Planning Commission, and council members who are attending on secrets to successful meeting boards, committees, and commissions.
Good,
Parliamentary.
it's great. If you haven't gone through it, it's really well.
She thought you would be done with your meeting in time to make that.
Yes, I'm coming in at 5:30.
Oh.
Tip up with the health department,
Okay.
so I don't know.
Well, you come in afterwards.
Huh?
Okay, there being no further business before us, we are concluded.